Okay, Frelichem Purim, Shushan Purim, everyone. And again, it goes without saying that it's a tremendous chus to learn now when people are so hungover and there isn't a lot of learning. And we are sponsored by A.B. Spry for the nachas and longevity of his descendants with full Yiddish and nachas, and by Michal Avra. Everybody should finish Shas with gesund. We are holding on the bottom of Daf Chav Daled Amud Beis, the new Mishnah. We learned to be Mekayim the mitzvah v'dibarta bam l'asais nachas ruach liyotzreinu. The elu chayev lahachriz. And the following things that you find, you have to announce. You can't keep them. Matzah peris b'keli, if you find fruit in a vessel. So the vessel is unique, so that's a siman. Oy keli k'maishu, or you find a unique vessel. Mois b'kis, if you find money in a wallet, the wallet is a siman. Oy b'kis k'maishu, or a distinctive wallet. Tziburei peris, if you find piles of fruit. Tziburei mais, piles of money. We're going to see what the siman is with the piles. Shloisha matbei zel gavzeh, if you find 3 coins, one on top of another. Krichos b'rishus hayachid, small bundles, but in a private path and not in a very public area. V'kikara shel balabais, homemade chalivs that are distinctive. V'gizei tzemer alakuchin mebeisa umim, and tufts of wool that are taken from the craftsman, because the craftsman ties a distinctive knot for every person so it can be recognizable whose it belongs to. Kadeyayin v'kadei shemen, jugs of wine and jugs of oil. We learned in the Gemara earlier that have the seal, and it's before the wholesalers started selling publicly. Hari elu chayev lachris. All of these, he has to make an announcement. Okay, as we welcome in everybody, Abba Steinhauser, Shlomo Klein, as we start the Gemara on Daf Chafei Amud Aleph, learning at a time where there is very little learning in the world. So the Gemara says, time in the matzah peris b'kei, that's only if you found fruit in the vessel, or mois b'kis, and the money in the purse. Hakeli ulafan of Paris, but if you find a vessel and in front of it is fruit, kiss v'lafan of mois, and a purse and in front of it is money, harielu shaloi, you could keep the money and you could keep the fruit, and it's not necessarily so that it fell out from that purse and it fell out from that vessel. Tanina law the Taner Rabbanan, this backs up what the Rabbanan taught. Matzah keli ulafan of Paris, if you find a vessel in front of its fruit, kiss a purse ulafan of mais, and in front of it is money. Harielu shaloi, you could keep the fruit and the purse. Miksas and mikelim, miksas and al gabi karka, but if you found a vessel, part of the fruit is in the vessel, part of it is in front of it on the floor. Miksas and mikis and miksas and al gabi karka, part of it is in the purse, part of it is in the floor. Then chayiv lachris. Then even what's on the floor you have to announce, because it's likely it fell out from where there's already fruit inside the basket, or there's already money inside the purse. Says the Gemara, is it true, as we welcome in Dr. Guy, is it true that if the fruit is in front of it, if the money is in front of it, you don't have to announce it? If you find something that doesn't have a siman, like fruit, like money, next to something that does have a siman, next to a purse, next to a vessel, chayav lahachriz, you have to announce it. Babal siman, when he comes and gives a siman for the purse or the vessel, and he takes what's his, he also gets the fruit in front of it, the money in front of it that doesn't have a siman. So it's a stira. Here you see, you get what's in front of it. So now the Gemara answers many different answers. One is talking about a barrel and flax, and one is talking about a basket and fruit. Now, what's the difference? Why is that a difference? That if it's a barrel and flax, in such a case, that he doesn't have to assume that the flax came from the barrel. So Rashi tells us, because in such a case, if the flax would have fell out of the barrel, some of the flax would have stayed in the barrel. That's the nature of flax. And since there's no flax in the barrel, we assume that the flax did not come from the barrel. On the other hand, we daven Marav already. We daven the Marav at 8:30. Says the Gemara, one is talking about with a basket and fruit. Now, by a basket and fruit, it's normal that when you tilt the basket, all the fruit falls out. And therefore, the fact that there's no fruit left in the basket doesn't show that it comes from the basket. And therefore, if he gives a simon from the basket, he gets the fruit as well. That's Rav Zvid's answer. Rav Papa has a different answer. Rav Papa, both are talking about a basket and fruit. If there's some fruit in the basket still, so like we explained, so then we assume that the fruit that came out was from the basket. If there's no fruit at all in the basket, then you can't assume that the fruit came out from the basket. Or else we could say both are talking about where there's no fruit in the basket. If the basket was facing the fruit, so then you could assume the fruit came from the basket. But if the front of the basket was not facing the fruit, the back of the basket was facing the fruit, then there's no reason to believe that the fruit came from the basket, and therefore you don't have to return it to the owner of the basket. Look how many answers the Gemara says. Both are talking about where the basket was turned to the fruit. One is talking about where the basket had a rim. Since the basket had a rim, if the fruit came from the basket, some of the fruit should have stayed in the basket because of the rim. And therefore, since there's no fruit in the basket, it's probable that the fruit didn't come from the basket. But if the basket does not have a rim, it's very likely that all the fruit is from the basket. The reason why no fruit stayed in the basket is because the fruit doesn't have a rim. As we welcome him, Mel Zachner, we welcome him, Marvin Schnee, who is joining us as well. And welcome Mel as we start from Tziburei Peiris with Tziburei Mois, which is at the two dots about midway down Chav Hei Amid Aleph. If I could trouble you to give me some cold water. If there's no cold water, then it could be even a little cold regular Coke is also fine. As a matter of fact, if there's some cold Coke, I'll take that. Not fake Coke, only if it's real Coke. Now, says the Gemara, Tziburei Peiros v'Tziburei Mois, piles of fruit and piles of money. Now, when you find the piles of fruit and the piles of money, what's going to be the simon? Shmat minam minyan ave simon. It must be that the number of piles is a simon. Says the Gemara, Tani tzibur peiros, only one pile of fruit, so there isn't a number. So shmat mina mokam have a simon. So then it must be that the location is a simon, and you say that you found fruit, and the person gives the location. So the Gemara says Tani tzibure peiros, read piles of fruit. In other words, we could push it off either way. It's thank you very much. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol niyeh b'dvaro. Excuse me. L'chaim, everyone.
Bourbon again? We know the Raza Shikar, right? There you go.
watch out, the Muslim don't get you in Chicago.
Well, only a shikar will let me enter the shir. Gotta be.
Now, it's funny, but if I wouldn't be dreaming, I would think I heard Marshall.
I would think so too, but I'm dreaming.
Now, Sholosh matbeya zal gavzeh. 3 coins, one on top of another. So here we have a very interesting, the Mefarshim say that sometimes somebody takes a name from a mimer that he says in Shas. He became known after that dictum. So Omar Rabbi Yitzchak Migdalah, Rabbi Yitzchak the tower, he's known because he said a Dvar Torah about a tower. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak Migdalah, v'hu she'asuyin k'migdalin. This is only if the coins were in a formation of a tower. Now we're going to see that the Gemara is going to say that they were 3 different sizes, like a quarter, a nickel, and a dime. So that the bottom one was a quarter, the next one was a nickel, and the third one was a dime. They keep on narrowing out, and they're shaped like a tower. And that was the simon. Tanya Nami Hachi, we learned likewise, if you find scattered money, you could keep it. But asuyim kimigdolim, if it's made like a tower, wider on the bottom, and then narrower and narrower, like a quarter, a nickel, and a dime, as we welcome in Ruvain, it's great to have you. And Ruvain, we are holding on Daf Chaf Hey Amid Aleph, and we are holding
Oh, you didn't tell me where we're holding. I had to guess for myself.
I didn't even notice you were here. Now, I didn't even know you were Jewish.
I can show you the proof if you need.
On the right column, halfway down, going about the corner.
Okay, I apologize, Rabbi Isai, for the interruption. Tanya Nami Hachi, we learned likewise. Matzamayis mefuzaris, if you find scattered money, Ariela Shaloi, Asuyim Kimigdalim, if it's made like a tower, Chayiv Lahachris. Ve'eluhein Asuyim Kimigdalim, what does it mean that it was made like a tower? Shloisha Matbeim Zal Gavzet. 3 coins, one on top of another. Now the Gemara says, Hagufa Kasha. There's an internal contradiction over here. Amar Tamois Mifuzaris. If you find it scattered, Ariela Shalai, Hamishluche Shluchufe. But if they were leaning on one another, Chayiv Lahachris, Ema Seifa Asin Kimigdalim, only if it's made like a tower, Chayiv Lahachris. Hamishluche Shluchufe, if it's just leaning on one another, Ariela Shalai. Says the Gemara, I'll tell you what it means. Tana, Kol she'ein asiyun k'migdalim, if it's not made like a precise tower, with fazaris karilu, that's considered scattered. Amar Reb Chanina, now the Gemara clarifies what does it mean like a tower. Lo yishanu ela shel shloisha malachim, with their coins of 3 different kings. In other words, 3 different currencies, so they're not the same size. Aval shel melech echad, but coins of the same king, where they're all the same size, 3 quarters, one on top of another, ein a chayiv la'achris. So the Gemara says, hey chidami, idasin kimigdalin, if even from one king they're made different sizes, the king has different amounts, like a quarter, a nickel, and a dime, afilu shel melech echad nami. If it's all the same type, like 3 quarters, it's not good even if it's from 3 kings. This is the understanding. It's only 1 king, like 3 kings, that they're all 3 different sizes. Where it's made like a tower, you have Revicha tata, the widest one, the quarter on the bottom. Umetzia ilvei, the middle one, the nickel in the middle. Vizuta ilvei, and the dime on top of it. So there, Vizuta ilvei metzia, and the small one on top of the middle one, da'amrina nanuche anchinu, because that's a sign that he put it there. Later on, he forgot it, but you have to announce it. Aval shel melech echad, if they're all one size, dekulu ke'adadi ninu, even though afagav deman ke'adadi, even though they're on top of each other, that's no sign. It's no sign that he placed it there. Harielu shaloi, because Eimer Yisramuye Yisrame, it could be that it just chanced that they're on top of each other, ba'adei adadi nafel, because they fell together. Rabbi Yochanan says, "Afilu shel melech echad nami machris." Even if it's all one size, but they're one on top of another, you still have to announce. So the Gemara says, "My machris, what do you announce?" Minyan. You announce 3 coins, and the person gives the location. So Ma'ir Yitlasa, then why 3? Afilu trei nami. Then it could even be 2 coins. Amar Avina, no. Really, you need 2 things. You need the location and the number. What he says is tiva machris. He says, I found coins. And therefore 2 is not enough, because 2 is obviously coins in the plural. So it has to be at least 3. Boy Rabbi Yirmiyah, kisherma. What if it was in a circle, like a bracelet? Kishuramau, what if it was in a straight line? Kichatsuvamau, what about if it was in a triangle shape? Kisulamau, what about if it was made like a ladder? In other words, you had 1 coin, and then the next coin was halfway on the first coin, and the third coin was halfway on the second coin, like a ladder. So the Gemara says, Pshoit miyachada, we could resolve at least 1. If you put a piece of wood underneath them, and you could pick them up all at the same time, like if it's made like a ladder, you could slip something underneath it and pick it up all at one time. You have to announce it. Boy, Rav Ashi, now Rav Ashi closes the Shaila as follows. As we turn to Chafei Amid Beis, on this wonderful night of Shushan Purim, where there's very little Torah in the world. Very little Torah in the world. People are hungover, and they're busy with the fumes, and they're not up to learning. So we are from the Mekaimei Ha'olam.
The drinkers of the world unite.
It's funny. It's like in my computer, it's like an echo. Everybody have that? It's like, I see that Aaron has it. He's hearing that echo. No, Aaron, you didn't drink too much. There is an echo. Anyway, Ka'avnei beis kulyas mao. What about if it's like the stones of kulyas? Now, kulyas is making fun of the deity Merculus. There was a deity Merculus, which was actually Mercury. And the rabbis made fun of it and called it kulyas. Now, they put stones in front of their deity in a heap, which we'll see as 1 stone on one side, 1 stone on another side, and 1 perched in the middle of the 2. So the Gemara says, what if you found coins like that formation? I remember that when the Polish Pope died, I wanted to speak to him about him a little bit. He had some redeeming features. And Reb Ruvain told me that you don't speak in praise of the Pope. You make fun of the Pope. And Reb Ruvain called the Pope the popsicle. That's what Reb Ruvain called the Pope. So anyway, so the Gemara, instead of calling it Merculus, called it Kulis, to embarrass it. Tajma, the Tanya Matzah Ma'is Mefuzaris. If you find one, he's scattered. Harielu Shaloi. ka'avnei beis kulias, but in the formation of beis kulias, chayiv la'achris. And what is that formation? The elu hein avnei beis kulias. What is the formation of mercury? Achas mikan v'achas mikan, one on one side, one on the other side, v'achas al gabem, and one perched on top of the two in the middle. Tan Rabbanan, amoitzi sela b'shuk, if you found a coin in the market, u'mitzah chaverai, and your friend found you, v'amaloi shalihi, it was mine, and I'll tell you, chadashi, it was a newish coin, shel melech ploinihi, it was from the Byzantine regime, or Neroinisi, it was from the Emperor Nero currency, lo yamaklum. That's not a good enough siman. Even if he has his name written on it, lo yamaklum. Why? Because he might have had his name on it and then bought stuff with it, so it's not his anymore. Lefish ain't siman l'matbeh. There's no such siman for a coin. Da'amar dilma afuke apka. Maybe he spent it somewhere. And it fell from someone else. So therefore it's not enough of a siman to give it back to him. Now, Motza achar agapa or achar ageder. If you found something behind a fence or behind a stone wall, or goizolais mikusharim, or you found pigeons that were tied, or b'shvilin shebesadas, or you found them on the paths in the field. So in these cases, we assume that somebody left them there to pick them back up, and therefore, arizel lo yiga bohen, you shouldn't touch them. Matzah kli ba'ashpa, if you found a keli in the dump, imechusa, if it was covered over, showing that somebody hid it there, lo yiga boy. Imegula, if it's uncovered, but it has a siman, noitolomachris, you take it and you announce it. Now, why do we say that if you find it behind the fence, you shouldn't touch it? My time, what's the reason? Because hani inish atzna inu, a person hid it there. V'i shakalu, but it doesn't have any siman, so if you take it, he'll never be able to recover it. V'i shakalu leslu marayu simana begabayu, he doesn't have a siman to recover it. Hilkach lushvekinu, leave it there. Ad asi marayu v'shakalu, until the owner will come and recover it. Says the Gemara, I don't understand. Why do you say it doesn't have a siman? It does have a siman. It's tied. So the type of knot, let the type of knot be the siman. Where their wings were tied, which is the uniform way, so that's not a siman. Because everybody ties it that way. Says the Gemara, siman. Let its place be a siman. Amarav ukva b'achama b'medadin, where it's hopping around, and since it's hopping around, the place is not necessarily the place where the person left it. Says the Gemara, but iba medadin, if it's hopping around, then me'alma, then it came from anywhere, and therefore a matarim. How could you say that the person left it there to pick it up? You should be able to keep it since it doesn't have a siman. Says, you're right. So it could have hopped away. Or you could say somebody left it there. And it's not hopping around. So it's safek hinuach. It's doubtful whether someone left it there. If you're not sure if the person left it there to pick it up, you shouldn't pick it up. But if you pick it up, since it doesn't have a siman, you cannot return it. You did wrong by picking it up, and then it has to remain by you until Eliyahu comes.
Can I ask a question on something from before?
Yeah.
Okay, we're talking about the kinuyim before. I thought in the past you had mentioned Merkulis was Hercules.
Well, it's either Mercury or Hercules. There's different pshatim what Mercules is. You see,
Yeah, I was listening.
you see, I'll tell you what it is. It's very interesting now that you bring it up. There's one opinion that really the real name is Kulis, and it's Hercules. And the reason why it's called Mercules is that's how we embarrass it, by saying the bitter Kulis, the bitter Hercules. The other opinion is Mercules is Mercury, and we call it Kulis to abbreviate it and embarrass it. So it's a question of how are we embarrassing it.
The way you say Wednesday in Spanish is miércoles.
Oh, really?
Yeah, interesting. Wednesday.
Interesting. It sounds like a bad Spanish word, too.
Now, we learned in the Mishnah, Matzah kli ba'ashba, if you find it in the dump, mechusa, if it's covered, lo yiga, you shouldn't touch it. Megula, if it's uncovered, noito l'machris. Obviously, if it says that you have to pick it up and announce it, as the Ritva says, it's talking about if it has a simon. Uraminu says the Gemara, Matzah kli tamen ba'ashba, if you find the keli hidden in the dump, noito l'machris. Now, we just said a minute ago that if it's covered, you leave it there. And now it says you pick it up and you announce it. Shekain derech ashba lefanais, because the dump is cleared away. So the Gemara says, Amar Rav Zvid, loy kasha, there's no difficulty. Ha b'kuvei v'kasei. One is talking about barrels and cups. Now, barrels and cups, they don't get thrown away by itself. You don't throw it away. So if you found it covered, it must be that the owner put it there, hid it there to recover it. So then don't touch it. Ha b'sakine v'hamnik. Others are talking about small utensils like knives. The hamnik, it's interesting that the Gemara bunches together knives with the hamnik. The hamnik is a very specialized tool of a scribe. It was a tool with a Y shape, and it was used in the craft of the scribe. But these are small things that could accidentally get thrown out with the garbage. When you're wrapping up the tablecloth, and if it has a siman, that's what you have to announce. B'kuvei v'kaisei, that's not accidental, it must be he hid it there, lo yiga. B'sakine v'hemnik, the sakin and hemnik, where it could have been thrown out with the garbage, then noito l'machris, then you should pick it up and announce it. Rapapa mahavaha b'kuvei v'kaisei. Both are talking about barrels and cases. Now, so therefore we understand not to touch it, because the owner left it there and he's going to come back. What about where it says you pick it up and you announce it? One is talking about a dump that's cleared away. One is a dump that's not cleared away. The obvious question is, if it's a dump that's cleared away, then he threw it away. You shouldn't have to return it at all. He threw it away if he knew that it's going to be cleared away. It's talking about a dump that normally is not cleared away, but the owner decided to clear it away. And therefore, since he decided to clear it away, he has to pick it up and announce it, because the person that left it there to recover it is not going to know he decided to clear it away. So Bishlam el Rapapa, who says it's talking about a dump that was you decided to clear away, because it's the nature of the sometimes a garbage place to be decided to be cleared away, and therefore you have to tell the owner who left it there that you announce it, because otherwise he doesn't know that it's being cleared away. El Rav Zvid, but according to Rav Zvid, that says it's talking about small silverware, and the reason why you have to announce it is because it got thrown away with the garbage. My shekain derech ashba lifnais says, well, that's what it means. Shekain derech ashba lifnais lakelim katanim. Sometimes when you throw away the garbage, some of your utensils get mixed in he didn't realize it, and if it has a siman, you have to announce it. Matzah begal. If you found something in a heap of stones, or a bekaisel yashin, or an old wall, harielu shaloi. The Gemara will say you could keep it because we say it belonged to the goyim that lived there before. Matzah bekaisel chadash. If you found it, there's a wall, and there's a hole that goes through the wall. So mechetzia ulachutz. If you found it in the outer half of the wall facing the public, you could keep it because somebody left it there and he forgot it. Mechetzia lefnim, it belongs to the owner of the house. Shalabal abayis. If it was a house that he rented to a lot of renters, and you don't know which one it is, even that which is found in the half facing the house, since there are many renters and you don't know which one it is, it doesn't have a siman, harielu shaloi, you could keep it. Rabbi say, we're going to stop over here now. We did the Mishnah Yomis already. I'm going to put it on shortly. Tomorrow night, shir, and the whole week is at 10 to 8. Tomorrow night, and the shir the whole week is at 10 to 8. And Mitzvah Hashem, this week will be the first Haggadah shir. That's at least the plan for now. Thank you very much, and have a very good Shushan Purim.
Thank you.